Some of these daily devotionals that we're providing are actually from my daily devotions and my regular reading. And this one is from John chapter 11. And the situation here is the Jews have tried to stone Jesus because of his claims to be God. He leaves the area, and then he's going to go back to the same area where they had threatened his life. And his disciples are surprised, and they really don't want to go with him. But they say to him, a short while ago, the Jews tried to stone you, John chapter 11, verse 8, and yet you're going back there? And Jesus answered, listen to this, are there not 12 hours of daylight? A man who walks by day will not stumble, for he sees by this world's light. It is when he walks by night that he stumbles, for he has no light. What does he mean by that? He just means walking in the light, walking in truth, as another verse would say it, walking in the will of God. That's the most simple way to say it. And he's saying, as long as I'm walking in the will of God, not foolishly, doing my own thing, but following the will of God as far as I know in my life, then there's nothing to fear. Now, you take those words and then you back up to John chapter 7. And I find this fascinating. John chapter 7, again, because of his claims, the Jews are trying to stone him. At this, they tried to seize him. Verse 30 of John 7, but no one laid a hand on him. Listen to this, because his time had not yet come. He's walking in the will of God. They can't get him yet. They can't kill him yet because his time had not yet come. And then you go to John chapter 8, verse 20. This is so cool. He spoke these words while teaching in the temple area near the place where the offerings were put, yet no one seized him. And again, here's what it says, because his time had not yet come. Verse 59, same chapter, John chapter 8. At this they picked up stones to stone him, but Jesus hid himself. How did he do that? With the Father's help, slipping away from the temple grounds. Listen to this, John chapter 10, verse 39. Again, they tried to seize him, but he escaped their grasp. When you jump ahead to John 19, as Jesus stands before Governor Pilate, and Pilate says, don't you realize I have the power to crucify you or to set you free? And here's what Jesus said in response to Pilate. John chapter 19, verse 11. Jesus answered, you would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Here's the truth. If you're walking in the light, you're walking in truth, you're walking in the will of God, nothing can harm you until your time has come. Now, we don't want to be foolish. You don't want to just walk out in the middle of a busy highway and say, I'm walking in truth. No, you're walking in stupidity. Let me leave you with one more from my devotional reading in Psalm 91. Oh, this is so good. Psalm 91, verse 1, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he's my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Surely he will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his feathers. Under his wings you'll find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence, there it is again, that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. And the point is, because you're in the will of God. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If you make the Most High your dwelling, even the Lord who is my refuge, then no harm will befall you, no disaster will come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. They'll lift you up in their hands, so that you'll not strike your foot against a stone. You'll tread upon the lion and the cobra. You'll trample the great lion and the serpent. The Apostle Paul, shipwrecked on an island. They're sitting there getting warm at the fire. Viper comes out, grabs a hold of Paul. The islanders there think he must have done something really bad. He's a terrible criminal. But he shakes off the viper into the fire. And they're waiting for him to fall over dead. But he doesn't. And they're amazed. But it wasn't his time. Listen, God will even do the miraculous to spare us if we're walking in the will of God. Again, not walking foolishly. It's COVID-19. Man, it's really messing up our lives. But for Christians, we don't need to fear. You've heard it before perhaps, but you need to hear it again. You don't need to fear unless you're not walking in truth. So the challenge is daily submitting your life to the Lord as best as you know how, walking in the will of God, walking in the light, walking in truth. And if you're walking in that way, no fear. Instead, don't let anyone rob you of the peace of God, of the joy of God. I was reading this morning and Jesus said, if you obey my commands, you'll have my joy. My joy will be in you, and nobody will be able to take it from you, no matter what happens in the world, no matter what happens in your own life. So I hope you're encouraged to trust God, walk in the light. As best as you know, walk daily in the will of God and walk without fear. Have a Jesus-filled day. Amen.